Hello there. How are you? Are you interested in a live writing stream on YouTube? Because if you're not, you're at the wrong place. Because this happens to be one, and I would like to start now. So kindly leave us. Thank you. I think we are now among our peers who like this kind of thing and do not turn up their noses at little indie authors trying to build community. Unlike those people who just left. God, I hate those people. Welcome! We are once again gathered here today to try and change the world for the better, right? And for that, we have magical power, so I don't see what could go wrong here. Hi, Epiphany. Nice of you to greet us. And yeah, and the place we're at, maybe for the newcomers. This is the window where you can see me, so it's not very important. This, no. Also, I'm confused about directions. This is the window where you can see the story. That's quite important. Below this video, there is a bit of an explanation and also links to a document containing most of this story and the Discord. The Discord is also a very important part of this live stream because in the Discord you can interact. I have deactivated the YouTube chat for several reasons, mostly because no one wanted it and it's more of a hassle to moderate than a Discord server, especially if, like me, you don't have a group of moderators who are doing that for you. And yes! And on the one hand, of course, it is a sad thing that a small and unimportant author like me has to think about these things, but then again, it makes me kind of proud that someone deemed me important enough to raid and troll me. Let me have that moment, okay? Thanks. So yeah, the easiest way to interact is the Discord, and if you don't want that, let me know. We'll certainly find a way. But yes, about the more organizational and less technical part, this is an interactive live stream, meaning you can interact with me while we are writing, this time I got the direction right, while we write this story over there together. And the interactive part is all-encompassing. So you can tell me you don't like my hair, you don't like the light, you don't like the sound, and of course you can also tell me things about the story. You can ask questions, you can vote sometimes when I do a poll, which I do a bit more often than strictly necessary. And of course you can also freestyle it by telling me thoughts. You can have concrete and very specific wishes, or you can just say, oh, Epiphany, thank you. And hey, by the way, my mother gave it to me. I think 20 years ago, or probably 30 as these things go. Let's not think about it. Right, you can have specific wishes, like, don't say grateful, say thankful. Or you can have more vague wishes, like, you know, I somehow feel that word ain't right, do something about it. And of course, I reserve the right to veto your wishes, because there are some things I just won't do, maybe because I cannot, maybe because I don't approve, and I will be sure to keep the border between these options a bit of a mystery. Hi, Gekribbel. And now, to refresh all our memories, I would like to read the last paragraph to remind us all of where we were. Ruth Gabler Woodgabler did offer them coffee after all, maybe because she'd forgotten by the time they'd reached her office, maybe because she was just too polite to follow through on her threat. Sam, in turn, was polite enough to not repeat their assessment of the care facility's refreshments, but just said, thank you, I'm already very enthusiastic about this. Munira asked for hot chocolate because she did not feel this was the kind of situation where she could reasonably ask for a Twix. Woodgabler brought the chocolate, which was still too hot for her to try, but smelled and looked like the kind of hot chocolate you would get from a cheap vending machine and regret after drinking it because it was all sugar and no taste. I'm not even sure how that is so hard, you know. Now I've stopped reading, as you might have noticed, because I am kind of a fan of hot chocolate, but I usually don't like it, and while this might sound like a contradiction, I assure you it's not, because most hot chocolate is just not good. And that's weird, because I think we as a society have a lot of things going wrong. But chocolate is not one of them. We have mastered the art of chocolate. You can buy good chocolate for 50 cents 100 gram. And let's not talk about the ethics of sourcing and all that. That's a different thing. That's one of the many things our society has not gotten right. But you can buy cheap chocolate. It's not a problem. And it's good. Now you can say, of course, it's industry chocolate and it's not as good as that thing that my mother makes in her kitchen, or my parent of any other gender you can choose of that. It's not that. I'm just saying it's tasty. I like it. I enjoy it. It's not good for me, but I want more of it. Why is it then difficult to get that in liquid form and not taste like a drink that's just a lot of sugar, which I don't mind, I like sugar. And I can't even say what's missing. I guess it's the taste of chocolate. So why don't you just put chocolate in there? And does nobody else mind? Because I guess it would pay off to put a bit more chocolate in there, like have the drink maybe be 5 cents more expensive for you on the production side, but then you sell like 20 times the volume because people actually like your chocolate now and don't only buy it once a year to remind themselves that it's not good. And that's not even vending machines. I didn't want to complicate the story by going into this, but you can also order chocolate in a restaurant, even an expensive restaurant, and it will suck. And that's what this live stream is actually about today. So let me talk a minute about our sponsor. It's the regular Hot Chocolate Hating Society, and if you log in or register yourself under www.regularhotchocolatehaters.com and use the code Fabian10, then you can get some sort of discount, I guess. So don't try this, the URL won't work. Epiphany says, the unpredictability of the quality of the hot chocolate does make me hesitate about ordering it. There you go, great minds and all that. We have a problem there. We have a problem. How about starting a petition? I think this is something that requires I'm very often disappointed by hot chocolate, says Guy Krimmel, but I don't know exactly how to fix it because more cocoa doesn't necessarily, and the rest of it, milk and sugar, should also be fine. Yes, we definitely have a problem. Yeah, right. It's not like I'm not a maître chocolatier. I'm not. So I can't say what's the problem, but that's what I meant when I started this rant with. It feels to me like we as a society have understood chocolate sufficiently, apparently, because we can make these chocolate bars that cost nothing, and you can buy 5 kilos of them and eat them all in a day and feel bad about it afterwards. But they are tasty. They don't suck. So I think I said my part. So thank you for watching. I hope you will have a nice Sunday. And oh wait, we did have something else. Then Gabler sat down behind her desk, which was surprisingly worn and covered with paper and stuff. Munira had kind of expected a more luxurious atmosphere for the manager of a big commercial facility. This looked rather like Mrs. Jespersen's office, and for those of you who might have forgotten, Mrs. Jespersen was the school principal. We got to know her as the person who was kind of sad and a slight bit embarrassed that she had to lead the police officers to Munira to deport her. It was really an unpleasant situation for her. That was Mrs. Jespersen. So, what was your name again? She asked, clearly looking only at Sam because they were the grown-ups, so Munira obviously could not be important in this conversation. And while this happened to be true in this particular case, Munira still took it as an affront. My name is Sam, Sam repeated, and you probably want the name of my apprentice as well. Munira mumbled. You may call me Miss Gabler, she said, and Munira suppressed a wary sigh. Now, what is your proposition? Well, basically, we're trying to build a better world and haven't yet made up our minds how much bottom-up we're going to include. And you decided to start with my facility, yes? Actually, I've started somewhere else, Sam responded with a quick glance toward Munira. She was grateful it was over before she could react, so she wouldn't have known how. Because she wouldn't have known how. You might remember we talked about this a bit, or more to the point I did, and I think I'm not going to do it again. If you want to know my exact and very... what's the word I'm looking for? Very wordy opinion on this sentence, you can just go back to the last live stream, and I don't have a time code, but I think you don't need it because you can just start and then most of it will be my opinion on this sentence. So just you'll find it. You'll find it. All right, so I'm not going to do all that again. Although I could make no. Let's leave it. Let's just leave well enough alone. Although one could argue that this is not, but we won't. We're not going to argue about this sentence. We're going to do something else. I think we're going to continue with Sam talking more because Sam, well, I'm not going to call them a self-insert. I accidentally removed the comment. Yeah, I wouldn't call Sam a self-insert, but they certainly have some similarity to this humble author. Then again, all my characters do. I mean, it's not quite possible, I think. I guess this is going to be a deepity, so prepare for a deepity now. You can't write characters that don't have a part of yourself in them. There you go. Deepity over. You can. I should maybe make a sign with my hands so people who have muted the stream for the deepity can know that they can turn the sound on again. Next time. I think I'm going to go like this while I'm saying the deepity. That might work, I think. All right. Now, let's go on. Epiphany says you write a community of selves, perhaps. That's very well put. Thank you. I'm going to use that. I'm going to steal it. It's mine now. You didn't say that. I did. You stole it from me. Why did you do that? It's very immoral. Yeah, but for all intents and purposes, let's say I have. Because I certainly intend to start. Let's just say do it now, which is a bit vague and weird, but I think we're going to go with it. That's kind of a defining characteristic of Sam. How? Wait, this is one of those moments where I'm confused between the German and the English custom, and I think in English you don't have any commas here, right? I just go how, question mark, quote, no more interpunctuation. Is that right? Like this? Is that correct? No commas. All right, thanks, Epiphany. Always good to have native speakers. some. How do you call this? Nodded their heads sideways. In a motion symbolizing thoughtfulness, and responded, we haven't quite decided on the details of that, which is one reason we're talking to you. And now, one reason being so I don't forget in the end, but also I think this might just dramaturgically be the right place for Munira to enter her opinion by saying, shouldn't we be talking to the people who live here? Who live here? Jesus! Sorry, once. Well, is there an English approximation or similar saying to the German saying, wenn einmal der Wurm drin ist, which means once there's a bug in a process, then everything will go to shit. And that's what I just experienced with my typing error there. And in Germany we say, wenn einmal der Wurm drin ist, which is actually an incomplete sentence, but the rest is implied, and it means, if you translate it verbatim, it mostly means once there's a worm in the thing. Once the worm is in, I guess you could translate it as. And I don't think there's a saying that is exactly that. Is there? I can try DeepL, but I don't think DeepL will be able to do that. Yeah, once the worm is in it is what it says. So it's at least DeepL doesn't know a saying. I'm not even sure DeepL does that kind of service. No, and Epiphany says I can't think of a comparable saying. Yeah, right. Yeah. Maybe I think it's no use searching very close. I think it's more useful to think about different expressions that convey a similar sentiment. Like you have that expression which we don't have in German, like a snafu or something like that. Then again, problem with that, of course, always, but in this case there's another specific problem, is that it's, then again, it's not the same, and especially with sayings, you need a lot of the vague, feely stuff surrounding the sayings rather than the actual meaning of them. And snafu, for example, is a military expression. I think it's exported from military colloquialisms. So you probably want to think when to use that and when not. Well, yeah. Doesn't matter. I'm not even going to write it. I was just thinking it. And then I started asking myself if there's such a thing. And thank you for confirming there's probably not, because I can't think of a similar one either. Right here, Munira asked, to make it clear. Right, and now I'm going, that's something that just popped into my head, as thoughts sometimes do. And you can tell me if it's good or bad or kind of doesn't matter. Sam turned towards them, blinking in surprised confusion, and made a vague hand gesture. For a moment, they reminded Munira of Captain Jack Sparrow, which was not a pleasant thought because of Johnny Depp and all that. Thankfully, the moment passed quickly, And also, Sam didn't resemble the actor physically. I'm gonna say actor very much physically. But she was afraid the thought would return now and again. Pity. Now, this is of course not very useful. This does not move our story along or something, but it was just a thought I had, and used wisely and with what's the word? With sound judgment, which is kind of my second name, I know. They can give a bit of depth to the story, because you don't want to get bogged down in a lot of stuff that does not contribute to the story, but if your story only contains stuff that contributes to the plot, then your readers, whether it's conscious or not, get a feeling of this is all awkwardly convenient, and it seems that this whole world and all the people in it only exist to move the plot along, and that feels constructed, and that destroys the famous suspense of disbelief. So you start, you lose the feeling of being involved in something real, and instead you feel involved in something an author crafted for a specific purpose. Yeah. And that's not in itself always necessarily a bad thing, but we sometimes want that suspense of disbelief, and we want to convey, in the kind of stories I write at least, we want to convey the feeling of a living, breathing world with real people in it. And real people have these intrusive thoughts, and that doesn't mean this is necessarily a good paragraph or a necessary part of the story, as I said. You can't overdo it, otherwise you just lose all sense of purpose in your story. But yeah, that was something I felt like it might be nice to address, not least because Sam's initial appearance, their whole attitude, and of course their way of dressing has some similarities to Captain Sparrow, who is, I think, well, I think we don't need to get into that. Let's leave it at that. If you have questions, feel free to ask, though. So since there's no uproar in the chat, I'm going to leave it for now. We can still delete it later. I do think that is a marvelous thought. Sam exclaimed after a few seconds of consideration. I should have. And there we have the problem. Now we need to write idea, because I don't see any alternative to them saying I should have thought of that myself. And we can't repeat the word twice. We all know if you don't repeat a word at least 3 times, then it's a mistake. Munira could not deny a feeling of subtle satisfaction, pleasure. I'm going to look for a synonym, because I don't yet feel quite at home in this word. Happiness, joy, pleasure, fulfillment, enjoyment, gratification, not perfect, but might be the best I can find. Happiness, fulfillment, contentment, not enough. Agreement, liking, taste, joy, enjoyment, pride, redress, or irreparation, compensation. No. I think I'm gonna go with gratification for now. And you can tell me if that feels right for you once the sentence is complete. Jesus. Gratification. Jesus. Still getting used to the keyboard, you might remember. Gratification, right? That's it, yeah. Of subtle gratification, not only because of Sam's approval, parentheses, that felt especially weird and unwanted, but was definitely there. I do like my parentheses, and I know I'm quite alone in that. But you will catch me out in using them now and again. And I'm sometimes even tempted. I think it's one of the cooler things Stephen King does. And I'm not even sure if he invented it or he just took it from someone else where he found it. But he sometimes does these things that he writes a sentence like, I don't know, Jack looked into the trees and thought, how nice, parentheses, blood and fur and howling and snarling. The forest looked in the moonlight, all snowed in. Or something like that. You know, having these little intrusive, like when in a movie, it would be a jump cut to a different scene that is supposed to mysteriously convey something to us. And I know this only from Stephen King and his stories so far. I'm sure he's not the only one who does it. And I sometimes steal that technique because I like it. If and when fitting, of course. As I said, the techniques I use, I always use them wisely and in exactly the right amount and in exactly the place where they belong, because I'm just that kind of a writer. What can I say? Yeah, it's kind of weird, actually, that I don't know how that happens. Must be some sort of gift or God-given talent or something. I don't know. Yeah, Epiphany said there's a travel writer who has a byline for a podcast like this because the best things in life are off topic. Yep. There's something to that. I guess it depends on the situation, because we all know there are exceptions, and they are often. Well, I'm not going to. Let's stick to our writing stream. But it's definitely a good bomber. But the sentence has to go on, not only because of Sam's approval, but also because Jesus, of the weary sigh heaved by Woodgabler. And I realize, now you might wonder, he's German, English is not his first language. Is he aware that that's a weird phrasing? And yes, I am aware. That doesn't mean that you can't criticize me for it if it's bad, but I'm aware this is weird. I just thought it works. Because of the very thing. That didn't feel weird at all, but she still tried not to show too much Schadenfreude. Feels weird to use that as one whose first language is German, because I know it's a German word that is actually used in English, but it still feels a bit like I've wanted to use this too much for it to be right. I don't even want to use it a lot. Great word, says Epiphany. Oh, thank you. We already have. Now, what's the word? I think they are usually called Beirat or something like that. There is I'm not saying German care facilities because I think that is unique to Germany because German care facilities are so great. I'm only saying it because I don't know how it is in other countries, and I happen to know that it's like this in Germany. German care facilities usually have these, I guess, advisory boards that are voted on by the inhabitants, and then they get, I don't even know enough to say if it's one or two or all of them, or if they are, if we have to imagine them more like a Klassensprecher. What's the word for in English? Do you even have that concept? So well, I don't know a lot about how they work, but they exist, and they have these, and I'm not even sure what they're called in German. I think mostly just something like Bewohnerbeirat or something like that, and probably I would translate that as advisory board or advisory council, advisory committee, maybe advisory board. That sounds like something a German organization would have, right? Yeah. Advisory board made up of our... Have we already decided on a word for the people living there? Inhabitants? Residents? I think we have. Still, I think for me residents sounds best. Has a bit of a sinister ring to it, maybe because of the video game series, but I think it works best of all the alternatives. Also probably more for German-speaking people, because we know that word only from the video game series. Mm-hmm. That's our only connection to this word. Mm-hmm. So all we can think of whenever we hear it are zombies, and I'm not going to make the joke now. Board made up of our residents. Gable said, responded with equal parts tired, annoyance. She already regrets granting this meeting, I guess. And smug satisfaction. Here we go. Here we can use the word satisfaction. Then I guess we have to make sure not to talk to those people. Sam said airily. Now maybe I should stop. Just not every byline needs, or is that what do you call this part of the sentence? It's not a byline, I know. Or is it? Can you call it that? Not every such part of the sentence needs an adverb, although I do like them. I think they're important, and I cannot agree with the people who put them down, who want to throw shade, as I guess the so, and now I realize this is getting a bit weirdly complicated. This might be the moment where some of you realize a sense of doubt and worry, thinking, wait, wasn't this supposed to be a fun fantasy story about Magi and spells and learning magic and all that? Why are we now sitting in some stuffy office talking about advisory boards? Because that's why. No, seriously. I want to try to keep this conversation entertaining and fun in a way. Not sure how much is working. Maybe we have to work on it in a second draft process later on. But I also think if we want to tell this story that we set out to tell, then we need to have this conversation. Because we started with a goal in mind, and we decided to do that in a care facility, and we decided to accept the challenges that come with that. And now I think we have to confront these challenges, and we don't have to spend hours and hours on deciding on a specific seating order for the new organization we make up or something like that. That's not where I'm going. But I think we have to confront these challenges and talk about them. Otherwise, it feels, for me, the conversation does feel a little tense. Yes, right, yeah, it definitely is. But that's intentional, and I'm open to suggestions, and I don't mean that in a dismissive, feel free to do better if you can do it, but in an open and honest way. I'm open to suggestions, and as I said, we might have to work on this in a second draft, but I think we can't just decide not to have that. We can't just, because the only alternatives I can think of right now that might realistically be used in such a story would be, one, Sam just goes ahead and does it all with magic. Like, I don't know, in Fantasia or something, like everything is magically automated, no human work needed anymore, and the care facility becomes a paradise because every needs of the residents are magically taken care of, and they just need to say that they want a fresh orange juice with a dash of melon in it, and it appears. And of course we could do that, but that wouldn't feel like a satisfying story because there would be no conflict and no challenge there. And I think the point of our story, the exact point, is that there is that great power that the Magi have, and now they have to find a point where to apply it. Mm-hmm. And that's the interesting thing. And whether we do this in an interesting way, that's up for discussion, and that's what I mean. But I think just working around it doesn't lead to a good story. And of course we can, I also like the general direction. Thank you, Epiphany. And I'm not being defensive here, or I guess you have to tell me whether I am, but I'm not trying to defend the choices I make. I'm just trying to explain how I got there and why I'm grateful if you have better ideas. I think that every other alternative, like maybe, I don't know, just we have a cut, we make a cut, and then Sam sits in front of 5 perfectly chosen representatives of the residents, or I don't know, they just don't talk to the residents. I don't think I have to explain why that's not acceptable. And maybe we come out at, we talk to all the residents, we make a big, like, get them all together, which is also a challenge in a care facility because a lot of them won't be able to go anywhere because they are in their beds or at least in their rooms, and they can't go to the big meeting room or something like that. And of course, you can then have Sam snap a finger and they're present in some way or another. But we have to get there somehow, and I think that's kind of the core of our story. And I think the question should not be whether we address it, but to find a way to address it in a way that feels satisfying and interesting, and if possible also fun. That's what I'm trying to do, and it might not work perfectly, but yeah, we talked about that. You have to make compromises, especially in the first draft of a story, because if you try to get everything perfect in the first draft, of course, mileages may vary if you're that kind of writer, and you do that, and every first draft you do is perfect, and you write all of it down, and then you press publish in your publishing service, whichever you use. I'm impressed, great. More power to you, but I'm not that kind of writer. And I think most of us aren't. So you need to compromise between getting it as good as possible, but also making progress, because you have to have a story, and sometimes you have to change things anyway, because later on in the story it turns out this part doesn't work as intended, and we have to change it. And so it's not obvious, is what I'm saying, that you have to have everything exactly on point. and I think this is going in the right direction. So I vote, let's write it down, let's get this conversation to sort of a resolution. This is why you write more than I do, says Epiphany. Yeah, kind of, probably, yeah. And then, when it's done, and maybe even get a bit of distance by finishing the story, that's also an aspect. If we go on after having this conversation and write more of the story, we get a bit of distance and it gets easier to see the mistakes and maybe find ways to correct them. Downside of this is, of course, or there are several downsides. First off, with more distance, of course, you forget stuff. And maybe you get out of the mood or something like that. And the second thing is, of course, once you've written the rest of the story and then you come back here and you find, oh dear Lord, this doesn't work at all, I have to scratch that and make everything different, then maybe you have to write the rest of the story completely anew also. Hasn't happened to me yet, luckily, but it can. There are no guarantees in life, as a famous German philosopher and folk singer has once said. Don't look it up, he's a horrible person and his music is not good. You probably wouldn't find it with this quote anyway, so there's no danger, but just to tell you I'm not being serious right now. But I think this is the way I would go about it, because this is the way that works best for me, especially, of course, and that's another thing you might have already thought of before I mentioned it. This is also a special situation because it's a live stream. And were I writing this just alone in my room, I might now just take a few days to think about how to resolve this. But I don't want to start a live stream, type 2 words and then go, okay, I don't know how to continue, so let's just, and then stand there like this for the rest of the hour. So progress is, of course, a slightly higher priority in these live streams than usually. This was probably more of an explanation than you need, but as I'm fond of saying, these explanations are not only a way for me to defend myself and my style and to explain why it's right the way I do it, but it's mostly meant to lay out my reasons for you so you can address them and maybe tell me, that's the part I agree with and that's the part I don't. So let's talk about this and let's find another way, and I think this is like that. And that makes it easier. Or if you agree with everything, then at least we know we are in agreement once I've spelled it out like this, even if it takes a bit of time, which, clever guy that I am, I can also use to think about the situation and how to proceed in the back of my mind, which usually doesn't help, but I still do it. Human condition. They are the representatives. Jesus, I always miss the tab. Pity. Representatives our residents have voted for. So I'll say it's kind of, now I'm going to do it. Look, I'm going to hit the tab key. Ha ha! Kind of disrespectful to dismiss them like this. Cheeky, now I can sneakily insert my adverbs without actually using adverbs. Now it was rude. Gabler's turn, and now I need to even parentheses again. Oh, this is a good stream today. Again, for now I have to use the words used for Munira, so it makes sense. For subtle gratification. Jesus, sorry, this is not the keyboard, this was just me. For subtle gratification. Full stop. Also, it's not like I didn't warn you this would happen. I can, if I weren't too lazy, I could actually go back to, I don't know, the 3rd live stream or something and show you the exact, knowing myself, probably 30 minutes where I warn you of this. Where I'm telling you this will happen. And there we are. Consequences of our own actions. Nobody likes them. But still, they happen. They are the... Now Sam sounds like a pirate again. Sorry about that. I didn't even need to do that. If you see me stepping back sometimes and doing this movement, that's because I have a high floor carpet, I guess is what you call it. And I have a little mat that allows me to stand more comfortably without shoes and all that. And this mat moves on the carpet, and it only moves in one direction. So every few minutes I have to get off it and then sweep it back a bit so it doesn't bunch up against the wall, which is right here. Just in case you were wondering what I'm doing. For subtle gratification, they are the representatives that God, you and your residents into the situation you are in now, and they have an interest defending it because they feel responsible for it. So I'll allow myself a dash of disrespect, if you don't mind. I do. Should have seen that one coming. Or maybe Sam. We need to. This is the weird. It's not even especially weird, but just to explain, I want. Epiphany already said the conversation feels tense and supposed to, and I'm trying again explaining so you can help me do it and get better at it. I want to keep Sam characterized as a person who knows they hold all the cards, and who knows they are the one in power and they can make the final decisions, but they know it in a comfortable way. So they don't have to keep reminding everyone, and they don't have to be mean about it. I would still sometimes, now and again, let the readers know, or maybe even remind the readers that it is a problem, that it's not an exclusively good situation just because Sam happens to be more or less a nice person. That's intentional. But I also want to show that Sam is the relaxed kind of shot caller. Sam laughed and winked at her. I walked right into that one, didn't I? And now, maybe, we want Munira to have something to say again, not just because we don't want our readers to forget she's there, or even worse, have our readers think we have forgotten she's there. But also, I think she has something of value to contribute because given the situation and everything we set up, it's easier for Sam to listen to her. I'd love not having to point this out. Munira said there, I don't even feel a temptation, not even a speck of temptation to add an adverb there. There you go. I don't always do it, just sometimes, but then again, I messed up the comma here. How could that happen? it's difficult because in Germany we have it the other way around. There's first the quote and then the comma, and that is not easy to keep in one head. And I only have the one, which is not okay. I would like more. Thanks, Obama. But she does have a point, doesn't she? If we want to talk to the residents, who better to represent them than the people they elected? Sam turned to her with a smile so smug she almost wanted to get up and walk over to Gabler's side of the room. Who says, I want to talk to representatives? Only listening to elected people is what got you where you are, isn't it? Bit of a difficult thing because I don't want people to feel like the narrative, or other way around. I don't want people to feel that this kind of follows or is an addition to what I said before. Of course, Sam is going to be right a lot, not least because Sam can just make themselves right. But also, we don't want our readers to feel that Sam's voice is just the voice of the narrative. We don't want them to feel like whatever Sam says is what the story wants to tell its audience. This is not the case, and we don't want to convey that. And this is especially important in these moments. And this is one reason why I think it's great that they have Munira along, because Munira can be not the voice of the narrative either, but a correcting voice, and one that reminds our readers that there are other points of view which are also valid. And I'm not going to do a both sides thing. I think you have read enough of this story to know that, because they agree about many things, but well, most people don't agree with what's. I was trying to get to a joke there, but let's just not do it. Let's just not do it. Now, it would be great to have Munira have some really smart reply, like something where you can, something that would be shared all over social media with, I don't know, smug magician destroyed by a cute little girl or something like that. I don't know. This was unfair to Munira, and I apologize. Yes. I was trying to emulate what these kinds of social media accounts would say about the video when they share it, Maybe we even, it's 12:55, but we can, I guess, what I'm gonna do, and you might consider this unusual. You might think, oh my God, what a handsome rogue this guy is, doing this so close to the end of the stream. But I'm going to go and get some tea now. Don't call me a maverick without reason. tea. Tea. I like it because it's wet. Like me. I'm 75% water or something. What am I? 70? 60? 65?
Some kind.
Whatever it is, I intend to make it more. It's also a bit bitter, and I wonder why. Maybe because it was in the cup so long. The newer one is better. It oxidizes. Like me. It gets bitter with age. He says, yeah, and you're right. So okay, what can anyone say? I think I tend to have Munira reply to this, but I'm not sure I will find a reply in this live stream today. But maybe it's good to have a few days or weeks to think about it, because I want something really good here. And it doesn't have to be, now on a more serious note, it doesn't have to be something that destroys some argument or something. It can just be something funny or something a bit mean but clever or something like that. So we don't have to solve everything with one sentence, with one-liner. But I want there to be a good one, just to avoid that trap that I just mentioned, just to have people know that we realize this is not an easy point. Even though it is kind of easy for Sam, of course. So what can Munira say? Of course, the first thing that comes to mind is something like not listening to elected people is what got you where you are. But I'm not sure. I could write it, so it's there in case we don't find anything better, and we can still work on it in the second draft, all that good stuff, which is such a great way to work on problems, Just let them be and think, future me is gonna be so good at solving those kind of problems. I'm so impressed already by future me. Go, future me, go! That's very, very, very nice and comfortable and enjoyable, and I like it. So maybe I'm going to do it because I only have 1 minute now. Or maybe 2, because I started a bit late. Not listening to them is what got you where you are. This is not it, and I'm going to write a note saying that right now. But sometimes it's better, you might know this from other contexts, or maybe you might know this from even this context. Sometimes it's better to have something, so you have a concrete, a specific thing that you can talk about and improve, rather have nothing and have to fill that blank space with thoughts. Nobody likes that. This is not it. See, you can even read it because my face is not over it. This is not it yet. I'm gonna say it even stronger. I'm gonna add at all, just so future me will know I'm not making it easy for me. Oh no, you might think I'm going the easy way here, but I'm putting a burden on future me here. Yeah, future me will have to put some real work into that. Cut to future me. Oh dear. This was today's writing live stream, and you might have noticed it was very enjoyable to me, and I had a lot of fun. I hope some of you had a few moments where you were similarly enjoying it. If not, let me know. If yes, feel free to push all those nice little buttons that you have on all the social media websites to let everyone know you liked it. Maybe share this live stream with other people who you think might enjoy it. Or, and I think this should be the absolute minimum, tune in again when we have our next writing live stream. Thank you. Enjoy your Easter holidays or whatever you might have or not have. See you around next time. Bye. Krimmel says, future me is a bit worried about the weight we put on future you. Well, that's a problem for future me, isn't it? Bye. And thanks, Epiphany. Very nice of you. Thanks. Bye. I love you all. You're a great audience.